Welcome to episode 51 of Fascinating, a Star Trek podcast. By any other name.
In this week's episode, an advanced race from a neighbouring galaxy commandeer the Enterprise to facilitate their return home. Trapped in human-like bodies they synthesized for the journey, the group begin to lose focus when the limits of their new form are tested by Kirk and his senior staff. The balance of power becomes more finely poised, but can the captain convince his captors to concede? Or will he and his crew spend the rest of their lives on an endless journey between galaxies?
Yes, well, I don't usually go around beating up beautiful women.
Why not?
Well, there are better things for men and women to do.
Good afternoon, Ian. How are you?
I'm not too bad, Gerry. How are you?
Yeah, I've got better things to do.
You've got better things to do than this.
Yeah.
Name two.
Beat up beautiful women.
You're not meant to do that. Kirk said way back in episode 2 that there's no right way to hit a woman.
He did. He's lying what he said there as well. He's always smacking. This cast, actually, if you think about it, McCoy punched a pregnant woman.
He did.
Now, this twice, Kirk has knocked him out.
Yep. Scotty's been
But
murdering
them, yeah. At the very least, he's been harassing them.
Yeah, and even the phrase, there are better things to do with them.
With them.
Sort of a possessive.
To them.
Yeah.
And only the beautiful ones.
Yeah, of course. I mean, why would anyone have time for the non-beautiful women?
No, you can punch them. You can hit
Oh, you
them.
can punch them? That's
Yes.
what you're saying. Okay.
That's the lesson I take from it anyway. And I'm sure back in the 60s, that's what all the guys were doing.
It's a lesson you live your life by. Alien of the Week. This week, not the 20th century for a change.
And as I've said, I like the 20th century setting. However, for this week, it more than makes up for it with, I think, now I don't want to be rash, and I'm not saying it's definitely the case, but I think there maybe will be a challenger to Andrea.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, we'll get to that.
We will, can't wait.
Did you enjoy Scotty getting absolutely hammered?
Yes. Yeah.
That's an iconic scene. The one where he talks about the green. They even used it again in The Next Generation.
Did they? Yeah, I can imagine. So yeah, it was a bit of levity to that with this week's sort of comic turn.
Bound to be where Blackadder got it from as well.
Yeah. I also thought, now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I noticed it for the first time this week. There seemed to be different cuts. They were faster and it showed different different cutaways. I'm not sure.
Okay. I don't have any trivia about it, but
Right.
maybe.
Just felt like the production changed slightly.
A bit more frenetic. Well, should we get into it then?
Why not? Let's crack on.
Down on the surface of a planet, we've got Kirk, Spock, McCoy, and two red shirts, one of which is Yeoman Thompson.
It is. They have beamed down, and apparently readings show no life forms, which is puzzling, as a distress call had been sent.
Yes, but moments later, the life forms come round the corner and they are scanned. It's not a very good scan, it couldn't tell that they were just round the corner. Is the suggestion here that this is them just putting on their human forms? But even then, it would have detected different life signs. It's an odd one.
Although, I don't know.
Unless the tricorder, this is a defective one that can't scan round corners.
And we should say as well that there's no sign of a spaceship or any debris.
No, there's nothing. It's an idyllic sort of landscape, a little bit like in Shore Leave.
It was quite Earth-like.
Sure.
Sure. To be sure.
Racist.
Ah.
So we've got a man and a woman who come round this corner.
Yes, one of them is Kalinda.
Yes.
That's who I was focusing on. Was there a guy there as well, was there, apparently?
Yeah.
Really?
Was.
Didn't notice.
Kirk introduces himself and is immediately told he has to surrender the Enterprise.
Yeah, after they thank them for responding to this distress call, now Kirk, he begins to respond, but both visitors press buttons on a device that they're wearing on their belts, and what happens?
Yeah, they're immediately paralysed, and this man then introduces himself as Rojan of Kelva and says that they need to leave this universe and it's the end of life as the humans have experienced it.
Quite extreme, quite abrupt.
It's also a bit overdramatic. You see this quite often in these episodes, that the enemy or the antagonist introduces themselves in a way that overplays their hand somewhat. It's the end of life as you know it. Well, actually, we're just going to get on your ship that you know very well and fly it that way.
Also, are they meant to be frozen? Because
They're acting frozen. Did you enjoy looking for blinks and moves?
I've referred to this before, but it's like the end of Naked Gun or Police Squad.
Yeah, they're holding their position.
See, I'm not sure. I didn't want to be too critical because that was my question. Have they been? They talk about being paralysed, so it's not as if you've been frozen stiff. You just sort of can't really move, and maybe your eyes can slightly. I'm not sure if that's what was meant to happen, or if they're actually meant to be entirely immobilised. Yeah,
it's not ever explained. I know that certainly when they do it on the Enterprise, I saw Uhura blinking.
Yes,
and there's little bits of wobbly.
Now, you would have thought that had they meant to be unable to move at all, they would have reshot that.
No, maybe that's the best they could do. 10 takes, and that was the stillest they could get.
You think?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're probably all half cut anyway. You know what it was like back in the day.
Yeah. We then have the credits, and we're back down on the planet, and whilst frozen or paralysed, their equipment is taken by the woman who we know as Kalinda, as Rojan explains how he has paralysed them and reminds them that he controls them before going on to release them.
Hey.
Captain.
It's all right. Interesting. A neural field.
Yes. Radiating from a central projector.
What do you want?
Your ship, Captain Kirk. It will serve us well in the long voyage that is to come.
Voyage? Where?
To your neighboring galaxy, which you call Andromeda.
Andromeda? Why?
It is our home. What brings you here? Within 10 millennia, high radiation levels in our galaxy will make life there impossible. So the Kelvin Empire sent forth ships to explore other galaxies, to search for one which our race could conquer and occupy.
I'm sorry, this galaxy is already occupied.
Captain, you think you are unconquerable, and your ship impregnable. But while we've talked, the capture has already begun.
That last line there reminded me very much of Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Which line?
The line about whilst we've been talking, the capture has already begun. At the start of Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, he's telling a story to the kids, and then they end up, anyway, if you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. They're on the water, they realise that.
I'm sure a couple of people have seen it.
Okay.
Meanwhile, we're shown what Rojan's talking about up on the bridge. Chekhov and Scotty, they're moaning about something penetrating from the planet when Kelvins begin to appear all over the ship. Yeah,
and they report back down to Rojan that the process is underway. So back down, Kirk hears this and asks what the point is. Because even at max warp, it's going to take thousands of years to leave the galaxy.
It's starting to reach the next one, but Rojan says they are going to improve the engines and shorten that journey to less than 300 years.
Spock's very impressed with that, but still, 300 years is 300 years. The woman in red shirts, Thompson, you said, yeah?
Yeah.
Thompson. She asked Kalinda if they made a 300-year voyage, but it is explained to her that, no, they were born during this journey. They're going to die in the return, so...
Yeah, it's a multi-generational trip, so even though they all appear to be about the same age, they obviously intend to have younger generations come forth.
Could get messy, couldn't it?
Very quickly. It's kind of a narrow gene pool.
Very. And you're going to have lots of kids born at the same time, screaming around. That'll be a nightmare.
Yeah, they've not thought this through at all.
Not at all, no. It's ridiculous.
You need a much bigger crew if you want to do that.
And what does he say anyway, that in millennia it's going to disappear?
10 millennia, so it's 10,000 years.
Yeah, so they've got 10,000 years left before this happens.
Well, I think it's 10,000 years from when they started, so probably down to about 9,500 now.
Yeah, but still, if someone says to me, do you know what, it's in 10,000 years, you've got trouble, you've got to send you out there, I'm like, nah, you're alright.
They can't assume that they'll find somewhere immediately.
Yeah, no, but I don't care. I'd be thinking, yeah, 10,000 years, I'm not interested, don't care. Anyone who I know, I don't care. Deal with it later. You just can deal with it. I'm not getting involved in this.
It's like people who have figured out what the end stage of this planet's life or the sun's life are going to be.
Yeah.
I find that stuff very interesting.
It's interesting, but it's, like I say, but it becomes that, when it's that far in the future, I really don't care. Because you have to understand or accept as well that there'll be better technologies. You know, if you're saying, okay, you would need to get into space just now to do something that might happen in 10,000 years, you're going to sacrifice yourself for this mission, I'd say, do you know what? No, I'm not, because give it another 5,000 years and a better solution will probably be in place.
There's actually a formula for that. I can't remember the name of it. I was reading about it a couple of months ago, where if something's going to take more than a certain amount of time to achieve, it's better not to do it, because the new technology will not only be able to do it better, it will overtake where that one would have got to.
Yeah.
So there's a calculation that they have already to figure that out.
Sure.
Anyhow, Rojan goes on to tell Kirk that their own ship was damaged by the barrier at the edge of the galaxy, which allows Kirk to give a nod back to where no man has gone before and say that they've been there, they've seen it, they know all about it. It means that the Kelvins had to abandon their ship in a sort of life raft and row their way here to this planet.
Mm-hmm. Now, Spock, he suggests just sending a message, but is told that not possible. Communications can't get through the barrier.
It's very ET, isn't it?
It is, but also Spock should have known this. Look, he's
he's maybe thinking they might have better technology. If they can get there in 300 years, what can they do with messages?
Well, he would ask. Spock should... No, I don't know. I think Spock's made a fool of himself here.
Well, maybe. Kirk suggests that they seek help from the Federation, but Rojan says it's not possible because we are conquerors, so we must conquer.
But they don't want to conquer. They want to just head home.
No, they want to head home and then come back with an army and take over the whole galaxy.
This is going to take far too... Honestly, this seems like such a palaver for, 10,000 years?
Yeah, they've found a habitable galaxy, so they're going to come back and conquer it and then run it.
This is nonsense, isn't it?
They'll be back within 1,000 years.
Yeah.
He tells the Federation tells Kirk that the Federation will be dealt with easily, as this is the fate of the inferior. I
think it's at this point that McCoy gets involved. He's quite angry.
Oh, probably. He's always quite angry.
But he's calmed down by Kirk, who notes that the Federation have experience in dealing with invaders.
Yeah. Hanar pops down from the Enterprise briefly to say everything's okay, and Rojan sends the five that have got there on the planet off with Kalinda to get locked up.
Yeah, to ensure cooperation from the crew up above.
Yeah.
We're still on the planet. Sometime later. Is it, how we pronounce it?
Hanar and Rojan, they're having a wee chat about their human shells.
Yeah, which they have encased themselves in these bodies.
Yeah.
Kalinda's certainly got a rather lovely shell.
Well, she's designed it for herself.
Mm.
They don't like the openness on the planet, and they want to be back in the space between walls, apparently.
Yeah, they've been in that spaceship for however many hundreds of their entire life.
Their entire lives, yeah.
Yeah. They've got a touch of agoraphobia.
Space fever.
Mm-hmm.
In this sort of rudimentary cell, why did they have one of these? Spock's looking at these bars of this unknown metal. They made this out of their life craft.
Yeah, that's a point. So, they've been on this planet for a while, yeah?
Well, it's not made clear, possibly.
But they decided to build a
prison, just in case anyone shows up. And they're going to hold them there for at least a couple of hours before they leave.
But they can freeze them as well. It seems unnecessary. Just freeze them.
Unnecessary. Yeah. I mean, it must be their technology. I don't imagine it's a naturally occurring metal bars.
Exactly.
That open and close. So they've installed this in the side of the cave.
Boss, we can just build this. Do we need to build this cell? We need to file these iron bars and cement them in place to this rock. It's an awful lot of hard work. We can just freeze them. Build a cell.
Yes.
So they're in this cave cell.
Spock gets really excited about this new metal, like he always does.
Yeah.
Oh, it's really hard. That's what he says.
Thompson, she wants to know what these guys want.
They've already explained what they want. They want to take the Enterprise and go back to their planet. Is she not listening?
She's not. Don't know why she's asking this. Thompson,
stupid.
Pay attention. What are you getting paid for?
Yeah. Spock has concerns. He's been scanning them, and it turned out they are textbook humans, which is very unusual and curious.
Yeah.
Because most humans are broken in some way.
Yeah, he also answers Kirk by saying that the chances of human duplication coming from another galaxy are pretty much zero.
Yeah, normally he would give the exact odds. He's obviously not even in the mood for that right now.
No.
So, I'm in a prison, not giving you the exact odds.
This isn't Spock's best episode at all. It's not his best performance.
The red shirt, the male red shirt, whose name I didn't write down anywhere.
That's Shay.
That's in Shea Stadium.
Yeah.
He says there's not many of them. But how does he know? He's only been exposed to them in that one field.
I know, in any case, Kirk reminds him, there's that paralysis machine. Oh yeah, well, of course, apart from that.
And Spock says, we don't even know what the projector looks like.
No. And we can see Kalinda, she's on guard. She's peeking in at the moment.
Yeah. So Shay gets really overexcited and talks about destroying people.
And he promises that he will get a hold of one of these devices no matter what. It's like, don't overpromise here.
Yeah.
You know nothing about what's going on. This is such an advanced life form and advanced technology, and you think you'll just act a hard man and take it from them no matter what.
I think Kirk recognises this and
Yeah, he calms
says,
him down.
Shut it, you'll do what you're told. And then they get a bit of a reference back to A Taste of Armageddon.
Do we?
Talks about Spock on the Mini R7 when he mind-melded through the cell door.
But before that, we should say, we didn't discuss why they want these devices. They want a device so that they can, well, it's one of these leaps. I think is it Kirk who suggests that if they get a device, they can use that to detect the power source.
Well, they want to find the central projector and take it out, and then we're on a more even keel.
Anyway, yeah, tell us about this mind meld.
So Spock is reminded of this occasion and says, yes, I'll try that again. So he goes up to mind meld through the wall with Kalinda.
Yeah, he's able to penetrate her through the rock, which causes her to enter, and after this, well, during this, we see he is thrown across the room.
It's almost like he's ejected from something.
Now, I wasn't sure if this was him,
being dramatic.
yeah, to create a disturbance, but no, I think
it's just that the mind meld was broken off.
so. She comes in, and at which point Kirk karate chops her unconscious and takes her device before they all make a break for it.
Yes, Spock says he's fine, and they leave quickly, and 3 seconds later are frozen by Rojan and Hanar outside, and Kalinda comes over and recovers her device.
They are hopeless.
It's the worst escape ever. They've run back to where they just came from.
Yeah.
Why? There's no reason.
No.
Unless they want to get their communicators, I suppose.
And on top of this embarrassing effort, they are now going to be punished. And
Yep.
so they should be, actually.
Quite right, too.
Rojan tells Hanar to take Shay aside, and Kalinda takes Thompson, and they both look, or she looks to the impotent Kirk for help.
Rojan and Kirk have a little bit of a discussion, or at least Rojan talks to Kirk about the weighty responsibilities of leadership and how his punishment is to watch these people die.
Yeah, he says these two red shirts are dispensable, but Kirk, he claims to be responsible.
Yeah.
He's trying to act
This is
the big man again.
pain of leadership. Hanar, at this point, is ordered to do whatever he's going to do, and he shrinks them both down to blocks.
Yeah, these sort of porous heptag, I don't know what shape they were.
Dodecahedral.
Right, okay.
I have no idea.
Yeah, these blocks, these rocks, and hands them to Rojan, who claims that they are now the essence of the being, the person.
Yeah, so they're still there. They're still alive as a block, but
Well, they were.
not now, as he squishes one. But there's a bit of a mix-up here, because it's clearly the one that should have been Shay that gets crushed.
Was it? I wasn't watching that closely.
Unless they did the sort of the switcheroo
Maybe.
when he was off camera.
Do you know what that stuff reminded me of? It was the fake sort of thing that you stick flowers into.
Yes, the green stuff.
Yeah.
Exactly that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it's called. Someone will know.
Flower block.
Someone will email in with their thoughts.
Yeah. Is that for sticking fake flowers into or real flowers? I think it's fake flowers.
No, it holds water. It must be for
Does
real
it?
flowers.
Right. Yeah, it's that crumbly stuff.
Yeah, the green crumbly thing that you put flowers in
Yeah.
from the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
Hanar, however, is able to restore the other block back to a living person. It turns out to be Shay, so Thompson's dead.
Yeah, and you see in Kirk's face that he is really disappointed that the guy survived and not the woman.
Yes.
Pretty much. It was like, oh,
He was hopeful for a second,
yeah.
and his thoughts are dashed because it's the guy he can't control.
Yeah.
We get a captain's log where Kirk brings us up to date a little bit on things that he couldn't possibly know.
4637.5. The crew is being forced to make the changes to the Enterprise. Yeah, this must be a retrospective log. He's been told about this after.
This is what was happening, yeah.
Yeah.
And you can't forget the image of Yeoman Thompson being crushed to dust
Yeah, because he had her in his sights. He was...
on his list.
Yep.
Bring me a list of all the new female crew. Excuse me, Captain. Just bring it.
Back down in the holding cell, Spock insists that he is okay after being thrown away from the mind probe and tells of the bizarre and exotic images that he was exposed to during the process.
He says they're bursting on his mind and consciousness.
Yeah, all sorts of colours and shapes and equations.
He describes what the Kelvins look like in their normal form.
What was that?
He says they're immense beings with 100 limbs that resemble tentacles and minds of such control and capacity that each limb is capable of performing a different function. Big Spider-Man.
Yeah, really. He confirms to McCoy that he believes that is the true form of the Kelvins, and Kirk continues by saying that they obviously took human form as operating the turbo lift in the true state would have been awkward.
Hard to fit all those tentacles in. Yeah.
And he claims that they need to escape and that the only advantage the Kelvins have is their paralysis machine. Well, when they say only for a start, that's a massive advantage.
Yeah. The only advantage they have.
Yeah, but also they're not like the sort of perfect beings as well.
Yeah, they're in perfect human form.
Yeah, with intellectual capabilities that are great. Yeah, so it's not just
Kirk underestimating his opponents as usual.
Yeah. However, McCoy rightly points out that's quite a big edge that they have, as they can easily jam their neuro circuits.
Yeah, I quite like this next bit. So Kirk suggests they set up this counter field to block the paralysis devices, and Spock says it's not going to work. Kirk says we're going to do it anyway. And the beginning or the initial part of this is that Spock should fake illness, so they can get him back on the ship. And they talk about this trance state that Vulcans can enter. So Spock does this, and it's like the episode of Fools and Horses when Del Boy falls through the bar.
Yeah.
He just topples over to the side. It's like, could you not have sat down first?
You must know what's going to happen, yeah. Forcing Kirk and McCoy to catch him before calling for Hanar, who naively falls for this and allows McCoy to beam back up with him.
Yep.
I mean, they aren't the smartest, are they?
No, well, they've maybe got intellectual capability, but no common sense, as
Yeah.
everybody's mother told them.
Mm-hmm.
Up in sickbay, Chapel takes a second to figure out what's going on as Spock gets wheeled in, and McCoy asks for an injection of stocoline. So there's two possibilities here.
Mm-hmm.
One is that stocoline is a real thing that is used for a particular purpose.
Yeah,
like a vitamin jab or
quite
something.
mundane and non-threatening, yeah.
Second is he's just made up stocoline.
Yeah, that could be the...
So I don't know which it is. I'm hoping it's the latter, but Chapel's reaction suggests it's probably a real thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because she's not quite quick enough to be picking up on it as a fake thing.
Sure.
Because even after bringing through the first injection, she's still not quite on the same page.
Mm-hmm. Maybe she doesn't want to admit she doesn't know what it is. She thinks, what? I've never heard of that. I should know. Better not say anything.
She brings something anyway. Spock gets injected, and then McCoy calls for a second dose. And he explains to Tomar, everything's fine. This is one of the Kelvins. Spock's got a flare-up of Rigelian Cassava fever from 10 years ago, but he'll be okay in a couple of hours.
He buys this and tells him to stay as he goes to inform Rojan back down the planet, but return to see Kirk and his nemesis still at loggerheads.
What do you want from me now?
We will beam aboard the vessel shortly. I wish you to understand your duties.
My duty is to stop you in any way I can,
You will obey.
or you will kill more of my people.
Captain Kirk, I cannot believe that you do not understand the importance of my mission. We Kelvins have a code of honor. Harsh, demanding. It calls for much from us. And much from those whom we conquer. You have been conquered. I respect your devotion to your duty, but I cannot permit it to interfere with mine.
These are lovely. Captain Kirk, what is it you call them?
Flowers. I don't know the variety.
Our memory tapes tell us of such things on Kelvin. Crystals that form with such rapidity, they seem to grow. They look like this fragile thing somewhat. We call them sashir.
A rose by any other name.
Captain?
A quote from a great human poet, Shakespeare. That which we call a rose by any other name would smell as sweet.
He's already trying to woo her with his sensitive side.
Well, my notes say Kirk gives her some Shakespeare to get her primed.
Yes, that's pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, so that code of honour that they impose on their conquerees is not really a code of honour, is it? You've been conquered. You've not got any option to opt in or out of this.
No.
It's basically rules for captives.
I also don't think that Kirk's response is the best approach. It's like rather than playing along and saying, okay, I'll do what you say, and then trying to come up with some sort of plan to escape or overcome it, he says, no, my duty is to not do what you tell me. It's like...
Resist.
Yeah. Anyway, we're back up in the bridge with a course plotted for Kelva, and Chekhov has to double check with Kirk that it is okay to increase speed to warp 11.
Yeah, they've not done that before.
No. It means they'll get to the barrier in 1 hour.
Yep, so Kirk's away to check on Spock, who is now okay.
Yeah, well, he finds him, McCoy and Scotty working away. They have found the power source, which is installed in engineering, and they have tied in the ship's computers to try and jam it.
Yeah, they've not waited for Kirk at all. They're ready to go.
Well, Kirk doesn't know anything about it anyway.
Unfortunately, down in engineering, Spock and Scotty find that their plan is a bogey.
Why is that?
There's an impenetrable casing on the power source, and they can't get through it.
Should have probably thought about that.
Yeah. So Spock has another idea.
Yeah, it's quite one of last resort, really, isn't it?
The new plan.
Yeah.
Well, he doesn't really express what it is, but Scotty seems to understand and doesn't like it. Out in the corridor, they meet up with Kirk, who is then summoned to the bridge, and they head for the turbo lift.
Yes, where Spock lays out the situation to him, and the only outcome that they can think of. It involves opening up the antimatter cells on the Enterprise, which will then cause it to explode when it reaches the barrier.
Yeah, by the time they get to the next generation, the ships have got self-destruct programs installed on the software, but obviously that was not thought required at this time.
Okay. In any case, this will cause them all to die, but at least the Kelvins will be stopped. And that's a bit drastic because they're not looking to destroy galaxies, they're just looking to conquer and move on. I don't think you need to kill it.
Yeah, they're looking for somewhere to live because their own world's becoming uninhabitable.
Yeah, I don't think you need to kill everyone on the ship to stop them doing this. Even if you have to play along for a year or two, it's better than death.
Yeah, they've kind of leapt to a ridiculous end.
And when you're looking to sacrifice the entire crew, it should be something with a bigger consequence. So, like you say, the destruction of an entire galaxy. So, okay, we'll sacrifice ourselves for that because there'll be billions of people. But
yeah.
But okay, so what's the worst that happen? If they don't do this, all 400 will still be alive and they're just going to conquer a planet somewhere. It's not...
No, you don't know that. The Kelvins, there could be billions and billions of Kelvins in the other galaxy. Maybe they've already conquered that entire galaxy, so they've got a galaxy's worth of people to come.
Okay, but still wait and find out then.
You've got 10,000 years.
Yeah, there's no need to go through the whole...
at least 1,000.
Suicide thing just now.
Yeah.
Oh, when I say suicide, it's not suicide, you're killing everyone in it's murder.
Murder-suicide.
Yeah.
Anyhow, they arrive up on the bridge, and as they're approaching the barrier, Scotty poises with his finger over the blow up the ship button.
Yeah, there's a bit of tension building here, obviously.
We get a captain's log.
Yes, 4658.9. I think it's just a recap.
Yeah, Kirk explains that there's a suicide plan in place and they've rigged the ship to explode on his signal.
So we're on the bridge. Spock lets him know that they are now in contact with the barrier.
Spock's response here is the exact word-for-word reading that he gave in Where No Man Has Gone Before.
Was it?
Yeah, density negative, radiation negative, energy negative.
There you go. And a fingernail-biting Kirk has to make a decision. This, I think, is the most worried I've ever seen him look.
On the bridge?
In total, yeah, he really seems sort of scared and nervous here. You don't normally, even in...
Well, the last time they were here, his best friend turned into a god and tried to kill everybody.
Yeah, that's true. Well, it happens to us all.
Yeah.
In any case, Scotty asks for his order, but is told to hold his position. And they are thrown around as they push deeper into the barrier, accompanied by a Wizard of Oz style score. It reminded me of the score during the initial tornado scene in the house at the beginning.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
And to Chekhov's obvious relief and surprise, he announces that they made it through.
Yep, Uhura begins to report damage and casualties from different decks, and Scotty says that although many systems are damaged, the engines are fine.
Yes, but life supports are operating on emergency backup. Rojan compliments him on his crew's efficiency, and Kirk returns the praise before Hannah is told to start the neutralising operation.
Kirk's like, hang on.
Yeah, whoa, come here.
This wasn't what we discussed.
He jumps up and demands to know what this is, and is given a very stark answer.
Yeah, there's not enough food for everybody. There's not enough energy to keep everyone alive, so they're going to cubify a lot of the crew.
Yeah, all non-essential personnel are now being dealt with. He then turns his attention to the bridge crew, and Uhura, Chekhov, and 3 others are quickly turned into these blocks.
Yep.
Out in the corridor, Kirk quickly sees that they are not the only ones, as he finds many of them scattered on the floor.
He's very careful not to step on anybody.
Oh, you would be. Although maybe one of them, Riley, that singing, give it a boot.
Squished, yeah. Rojan explains to Kirk that he was aware of his plan all along and that this way is much better.
I agree. It's a better solution than just them all dying.
Yeah, cubifying is better than death.
Mm-hmm. and informs him that a non-tamper system is now in place and advises Kirk just to accept the situation he's in. Don't fight it.
I'm sure he will.
Of course. We're now in the rec room. Kirk walks in a bit of shock and finds Spock, McCoy and Scotty are sitting there eating their coloured food with tensions rising before Tomar joins them.
Is this all?
I have reviewed ship's personnel, Captain. It appears we four are the only ones the Kelvins consider essential.
Scotty tells me that you could have destroyed the ship in the barrier. Why didn't you?
I couldn't.
If that was our only chance to stop
I didn't think it was.
Jim!
Bones, that's enough.
Jim, I saw them reduce 4 of my doctors and nurses into those little...
They've reduced the whole crew!
I do not understand why you take the trouble to consume this bulk material to sustain yourselves. We have ascertained that these contain all the nutritional elements.
Before you condemn it, why don't you try it?
I believe I will. Assist me.
Your idea, Doctor. Go ahead.
All right, I'll show you how to work the selector.
I have to say it's an odd time to be eating anyway. I don't think if I was in that situation I would have much of an appetite.
Well, maybe not, but they need to eat.
They don't need to eat, they're all going to die.
It's dinner time.
Okay.
It's an interesting response from Tomar as well. You'd expect a villain to say, I'm not interested in your ideas.
But I think that's the thing, isn't it? They've taken on the human form and they've got the urges that a human might have.
We're about to get into that a little bit more, aren't we?
Yeah, he sits down anyway and samples this human food. Well, Scotty whispers to Kirk that they should try again to knock out the paralysis projector, but Kirk says no. They need to bring the lost crew members back to human form in the future, so
That makes sense.
that wouldn't work, yeah. But it appears the sight of Tomar tucking into his food has stirred something in Spock.
Yes, he now claims to have a clearer picture from his mind meld with Kalinda. The Kelvins are apparently not used to emotions or their senses and had sacrificed those sorts of things to intellect. We've heard that before in a number of different alien races. They wanted to be so smart that they gave up on the simple pleasures.
Yeah, such as taste and smell. Kirk points out that Tomar should therefore not be enjoying eating. And Spock notes that because of taking this human form, these reactions are creeping in.
Yeah, well, they're reacting as humans would, which Kirk thinks opens up an opportunity for distraction.
Yeah, sensory overload is on the cards, I think.
Yeah, he tells them all to look out for opportunities, and Scotty immediately spots one.
Yeah, what's he spotted, or what does he think he can do?
He goes up to Tomar and asks him if he fancies a shot of Sorry and Brandy.
Down in sickbay, or over in sickbay. Where is sickbay? In
It'll be on a different deck, so yeah, up or down.
up or down to sickbay. McCoy is also doing his bit by worrying Hanar that his body is anemic and gives him a shot which he tells him will be needed about 3 times a day.
Up in Scotty's quarters, they've finished a bottle of brandy and they're now drinking something else.
We then head to Kalinda's quarters, where Kirk, of course, has given himself the task of stimulating her, and he starts by apologising for hitting her in the cell.
Yeah, she says that's no bother, Kirk. I would have done the same if you had captured me.
And then we have the opening clip that we heard.
Yeah.
He then gets quite rapey by kissing her neck and then grabbing her and kissing her on the lips.
But it's okay because she has been reading up on this and understands that a lot of human literature is devoted to building mystique around a simple biological function.
Yeah, I quite like the way she swept the legs from under him. So, I see you're trying to seduce me.
Yeah.
I know about this.
He says he just likes it.
Yeah. Well, she has him tied in knots and disorientates the predator further by taking the lead and kissing him. But they're interrupted by Rojan, who asks if there is a problem.
Yeah, Kirk leaves at this point and Kalinda explains to him that the captain had come to apologise and shows Rojan how he went about it, which he says is very odd.
I think he quite likes it as well.
Well, maybe. He does seem about 20 years older than her, though.
All the more reason to enjoy it.
Yeah.
Back down in Scotty's quarters.
Yes, they've finished another bottle of something and Tomar is looking for more.
And they're both a bit worse for wear.
They're getting that way. Over in the rec room, Spock, who we know is useless at chess,
Yep.
is taking on Rojan and seems to be having some success.
He is. As he's playing, he agrees with him that humans are indeed quite odd, but he finds them an interesting study. And Rojan admits he doesn't understand the lip pressing.
Yeah, Spock explains that this is kissing and that it's usually shared between people who have affection for one another, which annoys Rojan.
He states that there's no such feeling from Kalinda to Kirk, as Spock takes a chess piece and tells him that his game is off, before asking if he is disturbed by it.
Yeah, Spock indicates that the behaviours that Rojan is displaying are typical of the jealous type.
He unconvincingly denies that he is feeling this, but Spock pushes him and then checkmates him.
He does, and Rojan has to concede that Kirk ought to find Kalinda attractive.
Back to Scotty's quarters. The two of them are now blitzed and drinking green.
They're drinking green, literally green, from Ganymede.
Back over at Kalinda's, Rojan purposefully strides in, and it appears that Kirk and Spock's mind games have paid off.
It does. She's admiring herself in the mirror, and he comes to forbid her from socialising with any of the humans.
Especially Kirk. But she's not having any of this, is she?
No, well, she gets him to admit that he's not given anybody else this order, and she refuses. She says that the Kelvins are superior, and the humans are no threat.
But not just that, she'll do as she pleases, which causes Rojan to get into a bit of a rage. He grabs her by the arms and threatens to neutralise Kirk and all other humans. At this, she sort of looks down in disbelief at where he's grabbing her, and he releases his hands with, I suppose, a degree of shame.
Yeah.
He understands, there's a realisation that his emotions have taken over.
Down in sickbay, Hanar is complaining about needing another shot, but when McCoy says we'll see how you're doing in a few days, he becomes further irritated by the use of the plural.
Yes. We're back with Scotty. They're now wrecked.
Yes.
Down to Scotty's last bottle of very old scotch, which he literally dusts off and mourns the occasion that he was saving it for.
Yeah, he had hidden it in a suit of armour on his wall.
He declines to tell Tomar what the occasion was that he was saving it for, mind you. Do you think maybe getting married?
I don't think it was a specific occasion, he was just saving it for a special occasion.
You think? I thought so. Maybe it was because Scotty's single, for obvious reasons.
Oh, maybe it was, getting engaged or something.
Yeah, I mean, no, he's, when he gets a drink in him or when he's around women, he gets quite possessive and needy.
Yeah, it could be. Or maybe a particular birthday or something.
No, I think it was finding the woman of his dreams.
Could be. Back in the rec room.
Nope.
Why?
Rather than tell Tomar what the bottle was for, he just says, "Gee's your glass." And I was watching this with subtitles on.
Yep.
And it also doesn't pick up in the Scottish, and it says, "Here's your glass."
But
it's actually, "Gee is your glass."
Gee's your glass.
Yeah.
We should explain to those who don't speak Scottish that means give us your glass, which translates to give me your glass. Another use of the plural for a singular person.
True. Rec room.
Yep. Kirk notes it's been ages since they've seen Scotty, and McCoy confirms that some of their measures are working.
Hanar is getting irritable because of the jabs, and Spock mentions Rojan's jealousy as Kalinda enters and asks to speak with Kirk.
Yeah, we then get Spock being a bit unsubtle, nudging McCoy hard in the ribs.
Now, this was surprising, and I'm not... This shows Spock to have a better understanding of the relationship and the undercurrent than McCoy. Spock shouldn't have picked us.
I thought it should have been the other way around.
Yeah.
Anyway, Spock says to McCoy he needs more Stokeline, so they leave.
And when on their own, she tells him that she has done some studying on the lips thing and would like him to apologise to her again.
Yes. She also says that humans obsess over sex too much.
Well, I've seen some of her videos or movies after that. She's one to talk.
Yeah. Kirk grins wildly at her suggestion, and presumably it's because his plan is working and not because he's about to bone her.
No, I think it's because he's about to bone her.
Oh, right, okay.
How come he's always got a solution that involves him having to have sex with the hot ones?
Can you imagine they're all in the briefing room and Kirk's like, right, I have it. Come on.
Kirk, why don't you do the drunken thing?
No,
it wouldn't work. I need to do the...
we can't have Scotty around women.
Yeah, well, that's true, to be fair. But still, he's always the one that's got to for the... Listen, I don't want to do this, guys. I need to have sex with this hot young woman.
For the good of the crew.
Yep.
Up on the bridge,
I'm responsible.
Up on the bridge, a clearly irritated Hanar takes issue with Rojan's leadership and all of his decisions.
Yeah, which basically Rojan says, go to your bedroom, you naughty boy.
He goes off in a huff, and Rojan punches his chair.
Yeah. And again, that's another instance of him then realising. He looks around quite sheepishly after that because his emotions have taken over.
It does remind you of the kind of thing you've probably seen in some old rubbishy movies where children take over an adult organisation or institution or vehicle or whatever, and then they don't understand how to operate it as adults.
Yeah.
It's that sort of idea. Back in the rec room, Kalinda momentarily stops kissing Kirk to say that she's not allowed to do this.
But she is not defying Rojan. She is simply researching and needs more experiments.
Kirk asks how that's going, and they get back to the old kissy.
Up in the bridge, Spock enters, even though Rojan didn't order him to, and he explains that he needs to monitor and adjust the different devices that are there.
Yeah, this button.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah.
Rojan's like, yeah, that's fine. I'm off to see. Oh no, Spock explains that the last time he saw Kirk, he was with Kalinda in the rec room.
Yeah, sly old thing it is.
Rojan appears to not have any control over her, which upsets Rojan, who immediately leaves.
Yeah. Back in Scotty's quarters, they finish the scotch and Tomar passes out in a rather unique way.
He ends up literally under the table.
Yes, which gives Scotty some pride in doing this to him.
Yeah, he removes the paralysis device and gets about as far as the door, where he also passes out and slides down the wall.
Yeah, after walking by some bagpipes on the wall.
Yeah, he keeps those on his wall. There's a sporran at some point on the wall as well, which makes no sense. You don't hang a sporran on the wall.
Maybe if you're on a spaceship, I suppose you maybe
put it in your wardrobe.
Put it in your wardrobe, okay. So back to the rec room. Rojan enters and interrupts the apology, but isn't prepared for Kirk's challenge to his masculinity with his power to keep his woman.
Yes, Kirk then starts slapping him and taunting him.
There's two backhanders there for good measure, yeah.
Yeah. This leads to Rojan engaging with him without using the paralyzer.
Because, yeah, according to Kirk, his jealousy is so acute that he wants to kill him with his bare hands.
Rojan grabs Kirk and throws him towards the door, where he's caught by Spock and McCoy, who happen to be on their way in.
I think at this point, yeah, Kirk had thrown Rojan, accusing him of becoming human, and when they took him in, he says, don't worry guys, I'm just stimulating Rojan.
Yeah, so McCoy pushes him back into the fight, where Kirk tells Rojan he's stuck with this form and his descendants will also be stuck with the form, and by the time they get back to Kelva, they'll be aliens, not Kelvins.
Yeah, I mean, of course, Kirk always had to win this physical confrontation.
Of course, it's in the script.
Yeah.
Or the contract, maybe.
And as he chokes him out, he tells him he has a new mission, to find new worlds to live peacefully in, and with the help of the Federation. He insists that by the time they get to Kelva, they would be aliens, as you mentioned, but they can help. Rojan, however, seems sceptical of this.
You would really do that? You would extend welcome to invaders?
No. But we would welcome friends.
Rojan, you are only a link in a chain, following an order given 300 years ago. This is an opportunity for you to establish a destiny of your own.
Perhaps.
Perhaps it could be done. A robot ship could be sent to Kelva with the Federation proposal.
But if we retain this form, where could we find a place?
Seems to me that little planet you were on is kind of nice.
You would wish to remain with him?
He's most interesting, but I wish to go with you. I believe I owe you an apology. It's most pleasurable.
Yes. Very curious. You see, Rojan, being human does have certain advantages. Being able to appreciate the beauty of a flower or a woman.
Kirk there again with his very heterosexual view on human existence. Rojan at this point contacts Drea on the bridge to advise that command has been handed back to Kirk, and he orders a reverse course. They're going to head home.
And we see the Enterprise make this turn as we go off on another adventure.
There must not have been anybody on board with very strong ESP this time. Remember when they first crossed the barrier? That's what turned them into gods and killed half of them.
That's true. It's almost as if the scriptwriters had forgotten about that.
Yeah. They mentioned the episode at the start.
Yeah.
I suppose they could come up with, the Kelvins put some kind of protection, blah, blah, blah. Did you respect Kalinda's flat-out refusal to follow orders?
I did, yes. I respect everything that Kalinda did.
Just generally on Team Kalinda.
Yeah.
I quite like the sound of the Kelvin's true form. I'd like to have seen that, with the hundreds of tentacles that they control individually.
Of course. Budget would not have allowed that.
No. Definitely not. Overall, though, it was fine.
Yeah, I think it's a perfectly fine. Let's see, without Kalinda, it would have been probably a B episode. She
makes it a B+.
B+, yeah.
I mean, you can't get more than a B from her.
I won't. No. Are you trying to set me up for? No. Let's just move. Let's just move on.
Okay. Originally aired 23rd of February 1968. Helmed by Mark Daniels, the 12th of his 14 episodes. You hear more about him back on the podcast for The Man Trap. Written by Jerome Bixby, with an assist from Dorothy Fontana on the teleplay. This was the second of his 4 episodes, and you hear more about him back in the podcast for Mirror, Mirror. Warren Stevens played Rojan. This was his only Star Trek appearance, and he was in the original Forbidden Planet movie in 1956. He showed up on a number of TV series, including a regular role on Return to Peyton Place, and guest appearances on shows like ER and The Twilight Zone. He died in 2012 at the age of 92. He started out in the Navy, and he flew as a Marine Corps pilot in World War II. He was introduced to acting by his close friends Gregory Peck and Kenneth Tobey, who arranged interviews for him at the famous Neighborhood Playhouse in New York. Tobey, of course, played the police commissioner in the 1975 Columbo episode A Case of Immunity, making Stevens this week's very tenuous Columbo connection.
A Case of Immunity with the
legation.
Yeah.
And Jeff Goldblum.
Indeed.
Barbara Boucher played Kalinda.
Yeah.
She was born in the former Czechoslovakia towards the end of World War II and moved with her family to the United States in 1956. This was her only Star Trek appearance, but she was also in films like 1967's Casino Royale.
She would have made a proper Bond girl, not the...
Could have done. She was in Sweet Charity and Gangs of New York more recently.
Really? Who did she play in that?
I don't know.
Woman.
A woman. Woman 3. I don't know.
Old woman.
She was also in series like The Man from U.N.C.L.E. and Tarzan, and she's now 77.
Does she play Jane?
No.
Okay.
Stuart Moss played Hanar. This was the second of 2 appearances in the show. You'll probably remember him, and you'll hear more about him back in the podcast for The Naked Time, where he played the unfortunate, or stupid as you might call it, Joe Tormolin. Robert Fortier was Tomar, who enjoyed Scotty's hospitality. This was his only Star Trek appearance and came towards the end of his screen career, at least in terms of the number of credits, if not in time. He had previously appeared on shows like The Outer Limits and The Ed Sullivan Show, and went on to appear in the 1980 Popeye movie. He died of a heart attack on New Year's Day 2005 at the age of 78.
It was a very good olive oil, I thought.
Leslie Dalton played Drea. Again, this was her only Star Trek appearance. It was actually the first credit of her career. She would go on to appear in shows like SWAT, Guiding Light, and Search for Tomorrow, as well as being one of the Gold Diggers, a singing and dancing ensemble that appeared on the Dean Martin Show. She's now 76 years old. Some more trivia?
If you have it.
This was the only episode to feature Keith Smith as cinematographer, standing in for the usual guy, Jerry Finnerman. I don't know why, and if anyone does know why, please let us hear about it.
Maybe illness.
Who knows? Julie Cobb, who I didn't mention because she was only in the episode for 5 minutes, played Yeoman Thompson. She was married for 20 years to James Cromwell, who is a popular Star Trek alumnus, having played 2 characters on The Next Generation, another character in Deep Space Nine, and a 4th character in the movies.
Was he not also in Babe?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. He's known for a lot of things. He's quite well known generally. Yeoman Thompson's the only female redshirt to die during the series.
Really?
Apparently.
Nah, I'd have put money on it. There's already been a few.
Well, not in red shirts.
Right.
And next week we have the 23rd episode of Season 2, The Omega Glory, which features a Mary Celeste type of situation.
Okay, is that us?
Yeah, in the meantime, get us on social media at Trek Podcast on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram, and find all the episodes on our YouTube channel and over at www.astartrekpodcast.com.
And we'll see you next time.
Cheerio.
Bye bye.